Howdy folks, this is the Harley Benton SC-450 Plus LD Vintage Series. Oh, what a beautiful guitar, seriously. I bought 5 Harley Benton guitars in a spending spree. I guess I was bored, but look, I heard good stories about them and I wanted to satisfy myself. Plus they wanted a few projects to work on, and this seemed like a good idea at the time. Now, just in terms of specs, it's got a mahogany body. I believe this could be a 3-piece. However, I have heard they also come into 5 pieces. Not that I care, as long as the wood is glued properly, which it appears to be in this case. It doesn't matter. It's a solid, heavy piece of wood. It's got a maple cap between 6 and 8 millimeters thick with a, well, they call it a AAA veneer. I wouldn't call it AAA. Why? Because you can barely see the tiger maple stripes or the grain here. If this is genuine wood, all they would have had to do is use a dark dye to make the stripes pop. It could, if I'm unlucky, it could be a photo finish, but I am guessing it is indeed a 1 millimeter thin veneer. But, you know, it's not perfect, but it does look good. The paint job is good, generally speaking. The neck is mahogany and it has a blackwood fretboard, medium jumbo frets. Now the frets have been perfectly leveled. There are no sharp edges. However, the frets were really and rusted. When I first got the guitar, the first thing I did was remove the string. I used my Brasso. Brasso is great for polishing metal frets like that. Now, when I first got this guitar, I was a little bit grossed out because the frets were really dirty. There was rust and goo all over them. So the first thing I did was take off the strings, and I got hold of my friend here, Brasso, which does fantastic cleaning job. Anyway, so the frets have now been polished and the action has been lowered. It's a perfect setup. In terms of pickups, it's got Roswell humbuckers. These humbuckers can be split to single coil mode via these 2 push-pull pots. So they're the volume, they're the tone here. In terms of the bridge, it's fine. I can't fault it in any way. Tony McKenzie on his website pulled one of these guitars apart, and he found that the holes for the bolts here were drilled too wide so that the whole thing would wobble around. So he replaced his bridge, but I took this guitar apart and I could not find any problems. There's no give or take here. It doesn't move around. The saddle pieces, even on the genuine article, I found the saddles were often too sharp and the strings would break. It's not the case here. Machine heads. Okay, let's have a look here. They are stock standard vintage tuners. They are very easy to turn. In fact, they're too easy, so that if you're jumping around on stage, maybe the guitar might go out of tune. Not because they are difficult tuners, but only because they're so easy to turn. That might happen. So now we get to the not so good bits and pieces. This is the control cavity. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but you see how the screw holes for the back plate are drilled too close to the edge of the wood. So at some stage they might thread. Seriously, apart from that minor issue, what I would strongly recommend is pay the manufacturer 40-50 cents extra and get decent pots. Now, there's nothing wrong per se with these pots, but a volume pot is there so you can reduce the volume bit by bit as you turn back the pot. With these pots, what happens is it acts as a tone pot. When you first turn it back, the volume stays the same, but the sound is muffly. Once you get to the end of the turning cycle here, the signal drops out. So this is a really crappy volume pot. So if you fix this up and put it in a treble bleed to avoid the tone becoming dull and muffly, this would be an amazing guitar. The Les Pauls that I had in my hands over the years would be struggling to get close to this quality. Yes, sometimes the paint jobs are better on Les Paul and the pots are better, but apart from that, seriously, the guitars I've seen with shitty necks, crappy pickups, poor paint jobs, and broken necks, by the way, broken headstocks, is unbelievable. So for 20 times less, you can get a fairly decent guitar. And as I said before, it plays great, it sounds great. You have the call tap option here. What else do you want? 259 Australian dollars. Thanks for watching. One thing I did forget to mention is that, now, see if I can get a close-up. On the fretboard, there's a dent. Now, it doesn't affect my playing. Whoever dropped this fretboard before was glued down, or if they dropped something on it while it was being glued on, they should have just ripped it off and put a new fretboard on this guitar, because it is unacceptable. You can't have a dent on the fretboard. Lucky for me, it's in an area where I don't normally play, so it's a cosmetic issue rather than a playability issue. But again, guys, QC at the factory is very important.
Come on, baby. Open.